Jim, first of all, thank you so much for your time taking out this interview. I know you've been advocating China as the future, great economy, and one day could overtake U.S. Looking at the turbulent market in Europe and in the West, what is your take or your view about the world in 8 years in 2020 or 30 years? Sorry, 18 years in 2030.
I hope the world still is here in 2020, much less 2030, because there's some very serious headwinds facing us all. The Western economies are essentially bankrupt, and they're going to get worse in the next 8 years. To use that as an example, in America we've had recessions every 4 to 6 years since the beginning of time, or since the beginning of the Republic. We had one in 2002, and the one in 2007 and 8 was much worse because the debt was so much higher. The one in 2013, 14 is going to be worse, worse, worse because the debt is so much higher. And this time the debt is bad everywhere, not just in America. So either the next slowdown is going to be catastrophic or the one after that. So let's hope we make it to 2020. And unfortunately, throughout history, when you've had economic turmoil and economic hard times, it's usually wound up in war. Let's hope it doesn't this time. Let's hope that people are smarter, but it always has.
And so what would you do if you're a young man, in your 20s, and you're born in America? Where would you go? Would you come to Asia or China?
I moved to Singapore. May I suggest you move to Asia, move to Singapore and teach your children Mandarin? That's what I'm doing. You don't want to move to Singapore. You could move to China. China's very polluted, is a problem. Move to Myanmar. Myanmar is one of the most exciting countries in the world right now. If you look at the next 30 years, Myanmar is going to be a spectacularly successful place. North Korea. There's some wonderful, wonderful opportunities in Asia. And if I were in my 20s, or I'm not in my 20s, I'm still moving to Asia. I'd move to Asia no matter what age you are.
Because I thought because of the children, you come to Singapore. Now, assuming that you have no kids, you're a bachelor, would you choose China as your place to stay, to explore opportunities?
I would probably. That's a good question. If I were a bachelor in my 20s, well, China is very, very high on the list because it's going to be the dominant country in this century. But as I said, Myanmar, you could go to Africa. There's some spectacular opportunities in Africa. I think you'll make a lot more in Asian countries. South America you could explore, but I would move to Myanmar or North Korea or China if I were in my 20s.
If we choose China, any specific city that you think you choose or you prefer? Is it Shanghai, Beijing?
Well, I mean, Dalian is a wonderful city. I'm very keen on Dalian. My wife likes Chengdu. There are many wonderful cities in China to live in. And you mentioned Shanghai and Beijing. They're both terribly polluted. But now, if I were 23 years old, I probably wouldn't care about that. If I were 23 years old and a bachelor, I wouldn't care that Hong Kong or Shanghai or the rest of them are polluted. But there's so many wonderful cities in China, and some of the ones that people don't think of off the top of their head, like Shanghai, if you go to some of those others, you probably have better opportunities because there's not as much competition.